There is no need to fall down under the weight of this weary world. I have given you a fact. It is your duty as a human being on earth to make that fact your experience. And you'll learn much about that here this morning. Why is it that something other than you is stronger than you? Why is it that grocery store clerk with a certain look she gives you, how come she is stronger than you and can distress you? How come those haunting memories of what you did years ago are stronger than you are now, which they are? How come? When I said it is never necessary to fall down and stay down under the assault of anything at all. You can be stronger than the whole world outside and inside yourself. And you can know you're stronger. You can know what to do when the wavering or the temptation comes. You can be stronger than it. Of course there are temptations. That's what this whole sick, evil world is all about, to try to drag you down to the darkness where it lives and suffers. Sufferers, human beings who suffer, have no other aim in life is to pass it on to you, to give it to you in a vain attempt to rid themselves of it, and it will never, never work. And so they continue to suffer, and they continue to play the game. It is possible for you this morning to catch many clues by which you understand the mistake you're making. Understand it so clearly that it can't bother you again, but you have to want to have the fire to see what is wrong and why it continues wrong. Suppose you were in a town where a big storm came up. Heavy flood and rain pounded the town, and you wanted to get out of town where it's safe. So you ran toward one exit road, and there were people there. Yes, human beings. Human beings who lived in the very town. Human beings who were blocking you from getting out. They had barricades, and they had rifles, and they had hard and threatening faces to try to keep you inside the storm. So you tried another exit. You tried another philosophy. You tried another relationship. You tried another exit, and that blocked you too. There were people who were blocking you from getting out. Wouldn't you be fervent with the wish to find out who those people are and what they're doing there and how come they have influence to block you and keep you out of the peaceful meadows beyond the storm? Wouldn't you be? All right, you're not. I've given you an excellent illustration of what is happening all day long, all week and month and year long to you. And I want you to give very careful attention to this one point. The other points will come later. But for now, you're to try to understand why you don't want to understand what is blocking your escape from inner pain, confusion. You're to understand the enemy. You're to understand that you're not doing something that you should be doing. How come that incident, that quarrel outside there, has power to make me feel miserable all day long, and then the only reason it goes away is because another pain comes along to take its place? So it's just one unending stream of defeat and confusion. Will you please, therefore, at this point in the talk, make yourself do some extra work on the idea of recognizing the blockers out there with their threats and their rifles who don't want you to escape yourself. They don't want you to. Unfortunately, they've succeeded, haven't they? All of you nod your head inwardly. They have succeeded because you haven't asked the question, what's wrong with me that I haven't studied, investigated, thought about who the enemy is and why they continue to dominate me when I don't want them to dominate me. I want to get out of that stormy town. There's a beautiful country, land beyond there, but I never make it there. Yes, definitely. All right. We've established the fact that there is definitely, absolutely something standing in your way. There's something that doesn't want you to escape. And I already gave you a small hint of that. All your friends who don't love truth, they don't want you to escape. Everyone out there want the crowd, the biggest crowd as possible, be around them. And they don't want you to understand even this talk this morning. But I want you to want to understand it. And don't you flinch at anything you hear, because everything you hear is the explanation, the revelation of why you're not making it out. Can you think of anything more essential for you to understand than to see that something is stopping you from being happy? And you don't understand them. You don't understand why they have so much power. You don't know why you have so much weakness. We're going to explore that a good deal this morning until you get conscious of the need to catch that vagrant, evil, wandering thought up in your mind, till you're able to see where the enemy is. It really is not outside of you, it's inside you. We use figures of speech to make it clear. The enemy is, of course, outside you, but I want you to understand that it's in the way you now think and fail to cooperate with the natural powers that want, yes, just this morning, to help you. You are not accepting the help that is being offered to you at this very moment of the talk. Instead, you are doing something else, and I'm going to tell you what it is. You want, instead of escaping, you want to scream at what is blocking you instead of trying to understand it. Listen to what I just said. You feel something is preventing you from being free inside. But you make a terrible mistake, and it's going to be exposed this morning. We're exposing the enemy. You want to be able to say, look at what's bothering me. Those people at the barricades with their rifles and their threats to shoot me if I try to escape. You're always placing it outside in another person, in a circumstance, in a shocking incident in your life. You think mechanically, foolishly, there is the enemy. No. Now, I don't care if you've heard 1,000,000 times that the enemy is inside you. I want you to start all over with that thought. Just if it's the first time you ever heard it. The enemy is inside. And so is the friend with a capital F inside. But you have to see the enemy first. You have to see the fires of evil places before you can enjoy the clouds and the cool breezes of the upper places. So I'm telling you that you have made a mistake, which you're going to correct this morning. When the world, in any way at all, people, employment, lack of money, anything, no exception. When the world throws its vicious weight on you, you, instead of doing the right thing of wanting to understand it and then trying to understand it, you do something wrong. You weakly invite a reaction with fire in it. Say that in several other ways. When something goes wrong, you have had the habit of worrying over what's going to happen to you. It's such a habit, so ingrained, so persistent, that you can't as yet shake it off. You're learning this morning how to shake it off. But you are in love with sensations. See that for yourself. Now, I just said something to you. You see it for yourself. The very next time you feel bad about something, something disappoints you in the outer world, at home, something hurts your feelings, please, whatever you do, notice your fondness to feel a sensation, a thrill, a pain, a worry over it. And I'll tell you, evil forces are incredibly persistent in throwing its ocean waves of sickness and evil at you that you don't understand. You're going to have to do something against the persistence of evil spells, horrible thoughts. You're going to have to do a lot more understanding that you now have in order to defeat them. But there's one point I want to emphasize right now, and you're to remember it. The next time you worry over anything at all, I want you to look at the worry itself, whatever it is. And I want you next to see how you won't give it up. Truth wants you to give up the worry because it's unnecessary. You won't give it up. All right, we'll get closer to home. The next time you're fearful of something, anxious over something that is going to happen to you, I want you to know one thing first of all about it. I want you to know that you don't want to give it up. You feel the need for it. It's a false friend, but you have the yearning to keep that false friend because you have invested your egotism in it. You've invested your sense of identity in feeling worried over something. Well, don't you even know and understand when you worry over anything that you are dishonoring God? Well, let that thought come to you if it's never come before. You are dishonoring the spirit of reality that has told you already there's no need to be sad, upset. There's no need to be distraught, gloomy over anything. Your career flops. What's that got to do with the spirit you have? What's your career? What's your friends? What's your good times have to do with the Spirit of God Himself that wants to take over your life? You see, your values need correction, don't they? They need to be straightened out. Now, I've explained to you what wrong move you make because it's such a habit to make wrong moves. I've explained that a so-called threat comes along to you, a phone call, a letter, something happened at work, and you fall automatically into a false help. You fall into the false help of wanting to feel something strong. And you can choose any kind of feeling you want. You've got a pack of them, of rage, toward what happened, of wondering how it's going to affect your future. You have hundreds in reserve of sour, dangerous reactions. All right, now you listen to me right now. You think it's needful, necessary to go into that dark, evil reaction. You think your existence depends upon you keeping yourself going with evil thoughts, with self-pity, feeling lonely, wondering if you're going to be able to keep your friends. Why don't you wonder how to get rid of your friends? I'm serious, and you had better be serious too. But you're wondering, what should I do if I don't go into a shaky, quaky feeling inside? What else is there to do? That's it. That's it. You say to yourself, well, come on now. I'm so used to worrying. If I don't worry, then what will I do? What will I do with myself? If that's a wrong reaction to get nervous, if it's a wrong reaction, tell me the good reaction and I'll do it. No, you won't. I've told you the good reaction, and you still prefer to be nervous or to have hurt feelings. The reason for that is, as I explained before, and I'll go over it briefly again, you think, to originate a response to the challenge, the threat. You think that you need of yourself to go to your own rescue, which is what is destroying your life. You're destroying your life by going to your own rescue. How can flaring up at someone who offended you, how can that be rescuing? How can that be soothing? How can that be healing? It's not at all. Let this sink in. Let all this sink in. And let the next point sink in too. You so wrongly, disastrously believe in yourself. Your reaction, well, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. I've got to strike back. I'm going to scream for my rights. You've got that so firmly in your mind. Too bad. Too bad that the only thing you have in your life is you. How utter tragic. And you know it because you've lived that tragedy. That there's nothing but you in your life, right? You tell me. You tell me one other thing you have besides you in your life. I know you can't do it. But you're going to learn how to have something that is above you. You're going to learn that the last thing you should do is call on yourself for help. What's it got you? Now, anyone with a little honesty can say, what's it got me to call on myself? It's just more of my miserable self and more desperation to find a way out. All right, I've got news for you. You don't want the way out. If you wanted it, you would have had it. No. You prefer to believe that everything depends on you. I'll make a correction for you. Everything depends not on you as you are now, but on you using your power of choice in a new way. You can choose. Yes. There is a chooser there, which is not the ego self at all. There's something there that is able to say yes or no, up or down. And I'm asking you to call on that even while you're hearing this talk. I want you to know that the next time you are assaulted by yourself, the barriers with the gun are inside you. The next time you're assaulted, you do have the power of choice. It's all covered up, of course. It's not liberated yet, but it's in there. And you can choose to not react the way you usually do. Yes, you can. The phone rings. Something that you didn't want to hear comes to you. And what do? You start to think. You start to think with your mind, don't you? Well, maybe I'd better call this other person and get their opinion about it. Maybe I should write a letter. Maybe I should make a plan to push away the threat. All the time you're thinking of what you should do. You're choosing to enlist yourself as a valiant soldier in the battle against evil. You're always calling on yourself. Now, I am telling you that you've got to practice this. You've got to do it. You have to do the work. That the next time anything upsets you, you're embarrassed over some little thing, you drop something in the kitchen, small or enormous, the size makes no difference. God is above all. The next time that happens, you're going to remember that I told you that you do have a chooser. It's still there. As I said, it's pretty weak just now. But you have the opportunity to choose a different way to react to losing all your money, to losing your boyfriend, girlfriend. You can react in a way that you can't comprehend now, but I'm telling you that it exists. You have an experience. That's all right. You're on your way to the experience. But you can see and understand eventually that what I'm telling you about the superpower, which it is, that is ready for you. Now, you decide that you're going to choose another reaction other than the one you now have. Now be very careful now and listen to this tape over and over. Your new reaction that you choose is not one you already know. It can't be one you already know because you've tried it 10,000 times. So what you're choosing as your new response, a free response, what you're choosing is, first of all, nothing you've ever tried before. Your new response is no response at all. No searching your memory files. No thinking I better get some protection here from someone. None of that. Listen, God is entirely apart from evil. God is different. So, you've left room for something else than what you've previously known to come into your mind. Oh, but I told you about the incredible, and I want you to see it as incredible, not to fear it, but to see it as incredible, the power of evil mechanical memory and repetition. You have made your tiny little choice. Thank heaven you have made the choice for the first time. You've chosen to not choose. You've chosen to remain silent, to be still. Oh, I tell you, what a marvelous experience you're in for next. You're going to be conscious of something you never ever knew before, which is the overwhelming, fierce force of evil. It is noticed, oh, I tell you, both God
and Satan are watching you. And Satan is watching you the first time you try this right, truthful course instead of falling into your mechanical, usual reactions. Evil watches you and says, I've had him or her for a long, long time. The purpose of my life is to torment people. If he escapes, I won't have anyone to torment. The devil is always in torment himself, by the way. He's always tormented. Satan knows he has no future life. He knows that. That's why his whole life, yes, human beings whose spirit comes into human beings, evil human beings inhabited by evil spirits. That's what I'm talking about. They're out there, they're thick. They outnumber you 1,000,000,000 to 1. See, now you weren't really too afraid of that statement, were you? Because you sense, you know, you've already had a little learning. You realize that God is all, God is everything. There's nothing besides true. You will go through a long, new, hard period of instruction in which you will know that you must exercise your sleeping power of true choice. You must exercise it, be alert to use it. You must love it all the time of the day. Don't lapse at any time. Because once dark forces seeing you're beginning to set yourself free, they re-triple the attack. And they give you 1,000 monstrous lies about what you've experienced. They will want to lure you back into their false ways. All right, with most people, you are lured back, and we'll have to go into that a little bit. How many try to work and sometimes fall? Try to do something right and you do something wrong. All right. That falling down and getting up, the falling down, the failure to obey spiritual instructions is not a problem to you. Because I told you, and I repeat, you still have, in spite of all the assaults of the world at your present age, you still have the power of right, pure, innocent, godly choice. God gave that to you. And if your heart is true, you have it now. You can always go back. Just as the knight goes out into the hills and forests trying to slay the dragons, instead the dragons batter the knight. He goes back to the king, right? Goes back to the castle. And the king explains to him what happened, why he failed. One explanation the good king, the Heavenly Father, gives is that you still think you have to conquer the dragons of life with your own strength, your own identity, your own self, your own mind, your own storehouse entitled How to Act in a Tough Situation. You're calling on that. You are not believing in God. You are not trusting God. You're trusting yourself. Now, I will tell you, as simple as it's possible to tell you the following. God truly exists. Help authentically is waiting for you. I don't care how bad it gets. You can write back to the castle anytime you want and get more instructions. And one of those instructions will always be, look at the moment of the crisis and see how deeply, desperately you are in love with feeling bad. Word. That's your life. That's your foolish, destructive life. You're so afraid to not feel something, and I gave you instructions a few minutes ago. From now on, you're going to be godly. You're going to be spiritual. You're going to be brave. And you're not going to invite any feeling at all the next time you get knocked around by life. You're not going to invite any feeling. You're going to sit there quietly. Maybe you're walking around somewhere. And you're not going to have any care over what happens to you as long as you remain silent, because I'm telling you now, only good things can happen to you when you push away your usual pleas for help. Push away your thoughts and your beliefs. Only something good can happen to you, but you don't know that yet. Because you've taken false goodness as true goodness. And you want to make sure when the trial or the defeat comes up that you're going to continue to exist. You've got to keep the fires burning. And so, yes, you actually allow the villains and the knaves and the rascals and the devils to enter you, to torment you again and again and again. That's the story of your life. I know it. I want you to know it. Oh, let's see where we are. We're at the point where you have refused to be you in the reaction over that hurt feelings that come. You've refused to be you. Because when you're you, all you can do is hurt you. There's nothing else but self-hurt. Falls on your vanity, falls on your feeling of isolation, and you say, at least I feel angry. At least I can get revenge on people. At least I can keep myself going. You never had a self to keep going. You had the delusion of a self. And it's killing you. It's killing you. How many would like to stop that process and come alive? All right. Go over it a little bit more. The next time you're hurt, you're going to be very conscious of the fire feeling that went through you. And you're going to notice how egotistical you are. You refer everything to yourself. Oh, I've been an alcoholic for 50 years. Oh, I've never made much of myself, but I didn't have the breaks. All the chattering mind can do is to blab and brag about itself. Brag about its failures as well as so-called successes. Oh, what a dawning will come for you when you understand even that just one point I brought up, that your egotism, self-centeredness is supreme. Now listen to me. It's the only thing you have. You have nothing else. No. You don't have the spirit of truth. You have a yearning for it, which is good. But all you really possess is you and thinking about how you're going to impress the next people you meet. Thinking about you, how you love a certain activity. Every thought starts with I, me, mine. Your growing awareness of that will properly horrify you. And you will say, oh, come on, I can't believe it. I'm 60 years old. And all the time I thought I was a nice fellow. I tried to make other people think I was a nice fellow. And all I was
was a selfish sufferer. Oh, what a blow! How many of you will vow to be able to take 50 times more than you can now take? 1,000 times more than you can now take. You've got to take 1,000,000 times more than you can now take. The reason this room isn't filled with millions of people, they're not going to take it. They're lost. How many of you like to be found? All right. The understanding that all you can do is think about yourself, that understanding, after putting you through an enormous, stunned state, the following of that is your next lesson. That's your first lesson. See, there everything is me. And you notice how he lied and deceived other people, tricked them on stage all the time. Yes, yes, yes. Say yes. Say yes. Your eternal life depends on you saying yes to what I'm saying in this talk. Without it, you have nothing. Without it, you have nothing. Go back and die with the world if that's what you choose. You can have life. You look and you can't believe how sick and evil and lost you really were. Oh, but you got a glimpse because you had a little bit of sincerity in you. And at one point, something miraculous happened to you. One time, down at the work, something good happened to you. Whatever you'd call good, a promotion, raise in pay, someone to help you with your work. Something good came to you. And immediately it fell on your ego self. Oh, something good came to me, and I want more of them. How can more go? You're not going to find them. It wasn't a good thing for your soul. It was some little temporary victory. And that night, you went home and you bawled yourself asleep again. You had another quarrel with the people living in your home. Knowing that you're helpless and hopeless is one of the most marvelous revelations you could ever have. Because then you stop. Then you quit trying to help yourself. I went into that for a half hour. You used to go on and on. What can I do? What can I think? How can I change things? Who can I knock down? Who can I blame? Now, I want to ask you something. Listen to me now. Isn't it about time you stopped deliberately choosing nighttime? Isn't it about time you just stopped and said, I am not going to go along with me anymore because I end up with just more of me. And it's driving me crazy. Yes, it is driving you crazy. Everyone drives themselves crazy. They're all out there driving themselves insane. And they have fallen in love with their insanity. That's what they want. You let them have that, and you activate your right power of choice. You will see that step by step, your strength, the strength of the Spirit of truth, is getting a little stronger and a little stronger each time. So that even though you fall down an awful lot, you can always come back to the principles that we've covered this morning. One of them being, I must not be afraid of not having an answer. I must not fear to not have any help. Oh, that relationship hurt so terribly. It's tearing me apart. All right. It's tearing me apart. By the grace and the power of God Almighty, I will not try to help myself again. So I fail 10,000 times. At 10,001, because I've fallen down and got up. At 10,001, the light will break through. You will know that you have a spirit. You don't know that now. You will know you have a spirit. See, now you're a mind worshiper and an idolater to your emotions. It's a little bit of a different kind of a feeling. And you know it's different. Just like you know the difference between when you're out trying to slay the dragons yourself, you know the difference in that and the difference in being safe inside the castle where the kindly King of Heaven gives you instructions on what to do being caught into this vicious world. So every time you go out, you don't make as many mistakes as you did earlier. You do more things right because you remember the instructions that the king of the castle gave to you. You remember them and you practice them. And you see the dragons more and more falling aside and snorting and running away and falling down themselves. You're getting it clearer in your mind that you don't have to be you anymore. You must not be you anymore. To get that clearly, you have to practice not being you. For 50 times when I was working in the kitchen there, someone does something that always annoys me. And I feel a little fire inside me over the way they do things. I want to do things the way I want to do them. Why doesn't the whole world do things the way I want to do them? No. All of a sudden it happens. The problem was you, not them doing something contrary to your chosen way. The problem was you wanting to get a false feeling of yourself so that you could say, well, I got mad at her. I get mad, therefore there is a matter there. There is someone who got mad. No! You're not your madness. You're not anything bad about yourself. And you've got to give up bragging about how evil you can be and bragging about how good you can be. You know the sentence that goes with that. Only God is good. Now, you test all this for yourself, but you've got to catch the split instant that you want to fall back into your recording of whatever you do wrong. Catch it and know that that's the enemy. That's the barricade with the rifles that won't let you get out of storm. So then you have to understand that you want the storm because you're the storm. Better to be a stormy person, have a fiery life, than they have no life at all. And that's because you don't know there is another life. I'm telling you right now, there is another life besides your stormy one. Now you have it as a fact, but you have to prove that fact to yourself. You have to go on and on and on through all these stages, falling, getting up again, falling down and getting up again, till finally you see for yourself that something can come to you, come to your power, little power of choice, something outside of your mind and feelings and body and society. Something outside of you does exist. That's what God is. That's what the Spirit of truth is. That's what reality is. That's what true deliverance is. That's what eternity is all about. To be in contact with what can give you itself, which is everything good and happy and permanent. Good morning.